the Borough of Lambeth in central London, stacked up along the south bank of the Thames opposite Westminster. Penthouse flats and office blocks look down on estates housing some of London's poorest people. It's also a place where long-established local residents live alongside people recently moved in from across the world. In the Lambeth surgeries, the GPs have little warning of who might be coming through the door next.
Come in!
Patients who've spoken English all their lives, someone with no English at all,
Good morning.
or anyone in between.
I'm fine, thanks. Come on in.
I'm coming to see my results.
Yes, sorry.
No problem, no problem.
I understand what they...
Poco, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I speak very bad English.
No, it's fine. You're doing fine.
Research shows that there are misunderstandings arising from language and cultural differences in around 20% of these consultations. This video looks at how doctors and patients negotiate these misunderstandings when doing the Lambeth talk. Patients from different parts of the world have different styles of presenting themselves and of facing up to the consultation. It's typical for a local or standard speaker of English to package up their concerns in their opening lines to the GP, explaining why they've come to the surgery. They usually say what the problem is, when they experienced it, and what they feel about it. Often they'll also suggest a possible diagnosis and say what they've done to relieve the symptoms.
Yes, well, I thought it was just a sweat rash, just the heat. So I applied chamomile lotion and nappy rash cream that we used to use in the Navy.
Yep.
That was last Thursday. I've still got it.
You've had it for a week. Going on.
Yeah.
Can I see?
Yeah, sure. This is just not just here.
No.
It's here, here, buttocks,
Right.
legs,
Okay.
bloody arms.
What does it feel like?
Itchy. Itchy.
The fine details of the talk in these encounters have been transcribed and then analysed. The analysis shows that when patients come from different language backgrounds, then distinctive and recurring patterns follow throughout the consultations. These patterns, in turn, affect the progress and outcomes of the consultations. This patient knows the system and does the business unprompted. He speculates he has just a sweat rash, says what action he has taken, applied lotion and cream, and how long he's had it, since last Thursday. We also have a glimpse of his former life in the Navy, reinforcing the impression he creates of being resourceful and resilient, a worthy patient. He sets the doctor on the case in just 30 seconds. In contrast, patients whose style of self-presentation is influenced by a first language other than English usually set things up in different ways.
Come in.
Mrs. B,
Come in, please, come in.
whose first language is Gujarati, starts with a single opening line, acting out her pain to convince the GP of the reality of her problem.
How are you today?
Not very good.
Not very good. What's happening?
I pain here too much. I can't cope,
Right.
Yesterday whole day.
Right.
And I eat 3 times paracetamol.
Right.
In 2-3 hours it will be alright and then come pain again. I can't cope.
You
Pain
can't
like-
cope with this pain? No.
Yeah, very, very bad.
Okay.
I don't know what's the wrong with me.
Sure. How long you have this?
Long time ago, but long time ago it will comes.
It comes and goes.
Yes,
Right.
but now it
It's-
can't go.
It's all the time.
All the times. If even I walk,
Right.
I pain this.
So it's worse when you walk.
Worse.
What
Day
happens
by-
when you sit down? Feel
Sit
better?
down, little bit. No, yesterday I can't.
You
but
couldn't sit either.
no,
Right.
all the times pain. Nothing stop.
Right.
Mrs. B's creaky voice and downbeat manner are designed to convey a sense of helplessness. She puts herself in the role of supplicant, seeking the doctor's acknowledgement of her pain.
I pain here too much, I can't cope, you know.
She's establishing herself as a deserving patient. The GP listens sympathetically. Then, as the complaint is reiterated, his next response is to echo her words back to her. You can't cope with this pain. Once the doctor has validated Mrs. B's pain in this way, it's a preamble that only takes half a minute, the consultation can move usefully on to specifics. It's not just at the start of consultations that things can be different. Mrs. F comes from Italy. Although the doctor doesn't at first know it, she's come with a basket load of problems: thinning hair, allergy to dust mites, headaches, painful joints and a dry vagina. They're not spelled out at the start of the consultation, and the GP has to cope with the problems being raised, interjected and returned to in apparently random fashion.
I think the next step is to get you to see the skin specialist who deal with problems of the hair and ask their opinion. Would you be happy to go and see the specialist?
Yes, please, darling. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think
I sneeze a lot. I sneeze a lot.
you sneeze a lot, right? That's something different, is it?
What has happened here, and will happen over and over again in the consultation, is that no sooner does the doctor approach a resolution to a problem, in this case hair loss, with a recommendation,
Would you be happy to go and see the specialist?
then the patient
Yes, please, darling. Yeah.
treats it as finished. In fact, the GP hasn't finished with the hair topic. She tries to say more about the specialist, but Mrs. F has a long agenda to get through and breaks in with a new topic: sneeze a lot. The GP never gets to finish her explanation and instead has to stop and try and work out the relevance of sneezing to hair loss. But there isn't any. Mrs. F has moved on to another complaint about a dust allergy and will soon move on to a third.
So, have you got enough of the spray to be going on with, to use for your nose?
I've got two bottles.
You've got two, right, okay, so
She
use
give
it
me-
every day.
You know, because I need for the cream, you know, the cream, special cream you give me for the vagina.
Yeah, for down below. Yes, I can give you some more of that.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, itchy maybe so dry.
Right. Do you think this is helping?
Yeah, this one,
Good.
when I give you this one, you know, I spend this one, it don't itch me no more.
Excellent.
So there are differences in style, not just at the beginning of the consultation, but throughout.
But it's really important to keep your fingers
Listen,
moving. Do some exercises.
This dust mite is a danger for the house, you know.
It's not dangerous, no. It's nothing that will do harm to your home.
Yeah,
It's-
but it go in the food as well, this mite, or no?
No, it doesn't have any effect on the food.
No, in the food that I eat in no.
No, it doesn't have any effect. It only lives quite happily, doesn't do you any harm unless you become allergic to it. And it's because you've
Mrs.
become
F has
allergic,
introduced
it's
another
giving
new
you a runny
topic:
nose.
painful fingers. As the GP explains the importance of exercising her fingers, Mrs. F breaks in and returns to the dust mite problem. As before, her talk overlaps the GP's explanation. Frequent overlapping speech, for example with Italian speakers like Mrs. F, expresses friendliness and involvement. For the GPs, this can be stressful, and of course it's stressful for patients too. For those with limited English or a very different style of communicating, the consultation is a daunting task. It's not so much that medical jargon is a problem, but that everyday language and concepts used by the GP can be difficult to understand. Moreover, misunderstandings, like buses, tend to come 2 or 3 at a time. Mrs. C's first language is Portuguese. Different agendas start doctor and patient talking past each other. This problem is then compounded by a misunderstanding about time that is all too common.
Yes, accident yesterday.
What was the
Yeah, now the
What happened?
accident
What happened?
hotel yesterday.
You work in a
Yeah,
hotel?
yes.
What is your job, Clara?
Yesterday 4 o'clock, yeah, and the alarm alarm the fire the doors and the clothes
Right,
and in there. Ooh.
Which
It's in the telephone in the 6th floor.
right.
And
You work in the hotel?
today no.
No, yesterday.
Yeah.
Which hotel?
Dolphin Square. Dolphin
Dolphin?
Square.
Dolphin Square Hotel.
Yeah.
So this happened while you were working? While you were working?
Oh, today no.
No, yesterday you were working.
Yeah.
What's your job? What do you do?
9 o'clock.
No, what is your job? What is your job?
Job.
Cleaner or?
Cleaning, yeah.
Cleaner, yeah.
And the cleaner, the chambermaid.
Chambermaid.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem, no problem.
I understand what they...
Poco, eh?
Yeah.
English. You speak Portuguese?
There are several orders of misunderstanding going on here. The GP is trying to sort out the patient's history,
Right.
the relevant
So
background to the
working as
case.
a-
What's your job? But the patient has a different agenda. She wants to talk about the accident. But as well as GPs and patients having different agendas, there are complications over time. The GP is trying to find out what she does habitually. Do you work in the hotel? This kind of history-taking, as the name suggests, is about time. But English tenses, do you, were you, have you been, are hard for limited English speakers to interpret. That's why apparently simple questions like, how long have you been feeling like this? Or, how long have you had? Can produce some very odd answers. If such apparently simple questions provoke problems, what happens when patient-centred and shared decision-making models are attempted? Especially when patients may not expect to be asked about their beliefs and concerns, and so find it hard to process the GP's questions. This Somali mother has brought in her baby. She's been giving her Dioralite for her diarrhea. Having talked about that issue, the doctor tries to elicit the patient's own concerns and agendas by asking the mother what she would like the GP to do.
So what sort of questions have you got in your mind for me today? What do you want me to do
No, she
today?
said, the lady, she said, if you want to contact him, doctor, if you want to talk him,
Yeah.
I say, yes, I'm happy with you.
Right, okay.
Because definitely when I'm coming with you, when I go back, I will go back happy.
I hope so.
Because I will look to see you and your Dr. Kennedy. I like it.
Good.
Because when I'm coming, we will come in the, when I go back my home, I'm happy.
Right. So you want me to check her over? I'll examine her, yes.
Yeah.
The doctors attempt to widen the consultation to include the mother's beliefs, concerns and expectations. What sort of questions have you got in mind for me? Is difficult for the patient to make sense of. She seems to think there may be something she needs to explain about her encounter with the lady, the receptionist. Or, if this isn't what the doctor may be driving at, she makes sure, by saying, I'll go back happy, I like it, that the doctor doesn't get the impression that she's not fully satisfied with the consultation as it stands. The next patient is a Spanish speaker from Colombia who has a high cholesterol level. Patients who appear fluent in English are not necessarily easy to understand, but allowing them more room to speak means they can explain their concerns in their own terms.
Look good.
For the moment, I am all right.
Giving the patient room to speak also means allowing longer pauses, slowing down the whole pace of the consultation, and inviting the patient to take the initiative.
The result is it's about the same. It was 8.6 last time, and now it's 8.8.
More?
More, just a little bit more. And I was thinking about it, and
Yeah.
I thought that the best thing would really, because I think you have been trying with the diet,
Yeah.
I know that,
Yeah.
and I thought that the best thing, there is a special clinic at St Thomas's where they think about these things, and I wondered whether I would ask them just to see you.
It's so bad?
No, no, it's not. But I thought it might be helpful to think about whether you needed tablets to help bring the cholesterol down.
But it's not
Right?
too bad, no? Doesn't
No.
scare me.
No, it's not. No. It's the fact that it's not gone down when I know that you've been trying.
Yeah, I try, yeah.
I mean, properly. And therefore, I don't want to just leave it at that raised level.
Yeah.
I would like them to think about whether tablets would be appropriate.
The GP's pace is deliberately slow, and he pauses frequently.
It's called the lipid.
He also designs his suggestion that she should go to a specialist clinic without overwhelming her with facts. He's aware that she's upset and so unlikely to be able to absorb details at this stage. And since she is an anxious patient, he underplays his suggestion. His explanation of the clinic is simple and general, so that he doesn't back her into a corner where she can't understand. So, preventing misunderstandings is not just about knowledge, it's also about feelings and face saving. One of the reasons Mrs. M's cholesterol remains high is her smoking. She explains to the GP that it's difficult to do this, but that she realises that giving up smoking is not as hard as giving up drugs if you're a drug addict.
About it before. They are going to talk about your cigarettes, because that's a factor in this. I mean, that is one of the reasons it's keeping it up.
Keeping up, yeah.
And I'm not just saying that.
Yeah, but
I mean,
they help.
it's true.
Yeah, it's just true. Yeah, of course.
I mean, there are other reasons not to smoke, which we've
but
talked
that one,
about,
yeah.
So I think you need to think about that.
It's so difficult to talk
I know.
Really, I really want, believe me, but it's so difficult. Sometimes I'm thinking about this fellow with the drugs, you know, and I say, my God, don't I smoke a cigarette? And if I not have cigarette, what I feel, what's happened to these poor fellows, you know, all these drugs so high? It must be horrible.
There are several reasons why Mrs. M's talk is difficult to follow. One is that it's difficult to pick up the patient's perspective from her intonation. It's hard to follow because she doesn't contrast not having a cigarette with her feelings about this. But she's also setting up another contrast. She's comparing her attempts to give up with how hard it must be for drug addicts. Showing contrast through intonation is one of the hardest things to do for those who don't speak English as their first language. It's these subtle differences which make consultations comprehensible or not.
Okay. Do you sometimes get frightened by how you feel?
Alone in the house? No.
Or when you feel down, does it scare you?
No. I mean, I don't scare in at home. I try to close everything properly, of course, you know. I try don't open the door late in the night or things like that. But it's scary, but when I feel down, when I feel so, you know, I don't know you call it scare. I think it's sad more than it's scare. It's more.
Okay.
It's more sad. It's more. You used to remember more your people. You used to remember more your husband. You used to remember more. And what more you thinking about that, more sad you feel, because you miss all that people. I don't know. You call that scary?
No, I think what I was thinking at sometimes whether the feelings of sadness feel overwhelming, whether they feel too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
That is the point. I don't know what's happening now. Our people. I am nearly 70 now, but I mean, it's like I don't know. Maybe it looks to you stupid, but it's like back in your mind all your life. You know, like a film. You know, all the time. Sometimes you don't want to thinking about that because it's the past. But it comes in your mind, and you're still thinking. And I try to think make some little plans for the future. I can't. No, I can't say, because you fly from my mind. Boom.
She says that one of the reasons it's so hard to give up smoking is that she's lonely and sad. The doctor follows up with a question. When Mrs. M misunderstands, the GP doesn't jump in fast to clarify. He lets her talk her way through to her assessment of the situation, which is what his original question was about anyway. Because the GP gives her room to speak and lets her pursue her topic, she's able to talk vividly about her memories as if they were a film running through her mind. When GPs are not sure how much patients understand, themes often get recycled several times during the consultation. Even fluent speakers of English are helped by this recycling, especially if they have a history of mental health problems, or are anxious, or have other stresses in their lives, as is the case with the next patient. In these extracts, GP and patient return to the problem of dry skin and just what's going on when he takes a bath.
Apart from yourself, are you putting anything else in the bath water?
Yes, I use Dettol.
Dettol?
Yeah, I always have Dettol bath.
Right, okay. Well, we might need to think about that. I'm not so sure that that's perhaps such a good idea. But let me just have a look at the skin. If you slip your shirt off and your vest and just lie on the couch and let me have a look.
Well, I don't know why. I'm used to Dettol bath even when I was at home.
Right.
You see, it's not today I've been having. If I don't have Dettol bath,
so it's not a new thing.
It's not a new thing to me.
Right.
I've been having Dettol bath since I was. You know, I'm very fond of it.
I'm not blaming it. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, it's not a new thing to me. If I don't have a Dettol bath, I don't think I have a bath. You know, I must have a little Dettol, in my bath.
Okay.
But I don't overdo it, Michael. Just a little.
The patient warms to his theme, how important these baths are to him. I'm using Dettol bath even when I was at home. The GP acknowledges this, but very gradually works in his own agenda, which is to detach the patient from his fondness for such baths.
What's an English breakfast?
After discussing other matters for several minutes, the GP returns to the dry skin
And
problem.
are you sleeping all right?
GPs may do this recycling, or by giving the patients room to speak, encourage patients to do this as well. It helps the patients to be more involved, as they can talk things out and find a level of shared agreement about the management plan.
I'll come back to the skin now.
Yeah.
The skin is generally really quite dry.
It's dry.
Now, I'm not saying don't use Dettol sometimes, because you've always done it, but I don't think we should do it every time. So what I'd like to do for a while is to give you some stuff called oilatum to put into the bath water and just lie in that, and maybe do that and just use the Dettol once a week.
I use Dettol once a week.
Yeah. And use this other stuff the other time. Then when you get out, put the Dipra base all over.
All over my
all over.
My body.
All right? Yeah. So that's two things, the oilatum and the Dipra base.
Yeah.
And then
The GP is carefully and methodically gathering together the points he and the patient have made together some minutes ago in order to move on to treatment. Although the subject of Dettol baths might seem thoroughly exhausted by now, not so for the patient. As the consultation starts to draw to a close, up comes the subject again.
So we can just have a look.
So this Dettol bath I'm having is not very good.
I think it's not so good to use every time, because it does make the skin quite dry. Right? So it's not wrong, it's just that you're using it, I think, too often.
I'm using it, that's a fact. I admit that. I do. I'm used to it right from home since I was in Africa. I've been doing the same.
Yeah. So
the GP respects Mr. G's need to work through the issue again and treats it as if it was new. He patiently makes the points again and again. This consultation will take as long as it takes. It seems to pay off in the end. Mr. G is finally resigned to saying goodbye to the much-loved Dettol baths, initially for the time being, and then, it seems, for good. I'll stop.
Well, I will stop using it for the time being now until after. I won't use it at all for the time being. I'll stop it.
As he gets up to go, Dettol baths are still on his mind, but it's something that they can both laugh about.
I've no complaint now, right now. I'm very, very pleased. I want to say thank you very much, Dr. Phil.
Well, nice to see you.
Yes.
And we'll keep an eye on it until you're happy.
Well, anyway, if you send me money, because that one is very expensive, you know. It's not cheap. It's just, I don't know, I'm just a bit of a fanatic when it comes to that. I was saying to myself, if I don't have a dental bath, I don't think I'm clean enough.
Well, I think you've been doing okay, but there's sometimes such a thing as too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.